Welcome to cover letters. So there are two questions I'm always asked when it comes to cover letters. The first is, what is a cover letter? All right, so we're going to hopefully address that. The other is, do I have to have a cover letter? And my job here is to make it very clear that if a job asks for a cover letter and a resume, and you only send in the resume, you're not getting the job because you've blasted on 12 the fact that you can't follow directions. And I'll be honest, cover letters aren't that hard. They're actually pretty easy. They're just really scary because no one's really familiar with it. So if they ask for a cover letter, give them the cover letter. Now, key question. How many pages can your cover letter be? 3, 5, 10, 17, not including the index, other? It's actually one page. Anything more than a page and people start to lose interest. They're not getting anything from it and they stop reading. So how do you make one of these? Is it like going to IKEA? Kinda. We're going to go over the formula. First thing, we're going to use the same header that we used on the resume and on our reference page. That way it looks like it's a complete set. It also frees up some space for the employer's address in their title. Do not address it to whom it may concern. That is synonymous with saying, I really can't be bothered to find out what your name is. If you really can't find the person's name, go with Dear Hiring Manager or Dear Hiring Committee. Do include the person's title. Dale Carnegie, whom I'm a big devotee of, once said, a person's name is to him or her the sweetest and most important sound in any language, and that is only more true of their title. I have seen people get fairly upset when you mangle their title. These are free points you can be earning with the recruiter. And let me ask, do you know my pronouns? Are you sure? Are you willing to take that risk? You want to roll those dice? Similarly, so my point is it's a good idea to keep it pretty generic. You can also make a lot of enemies by presuming what title I want to be called. Mr., Mrs., Ms., Miss, MX. There may be somebody who you're applying to who being a wife is a key part of their identity, and they're deeply offended that you use Ms. or Miss. Conversely, the same is true if you use Mrs. The person may say, you know what, I'm not married. I don't appreciate that. You're making assumptions about me that I'm not comfortable with. They may even just be offended by formality, or they may not want to be identified as a nuclear missile. The MX missile was a famous nuclear missile in the 80s. Sometimes I try to slip the little historical facts into my workshops. So just be very careful with that. I think it is always better to address it just to the person's name. You also avoid the risk of really offending somebody who may have a name that doesn't clearly indicate their gender or how they identify with regard to gender. My name may be Michael, but Michael is not always a man's name, nor is Leslie, nor is Brett. The list goes on. So for our first sentence of our first paragraph, this is the introductory paragraph. We want to lead with something along the lines of, I was excited to see your posting for the position of, and then give them the job title and where you found it. You want to express enthusiasm for the job, just like we did in the resume, because I don't want to just hire somebody who needs a paycheck. I want to hire someone who's excited about this job. And they want to know which job you're applying for, because I can tell you right now, here at Elms College, we're hiring for like 15 different jobs. How do I know which one you're applying for? Now I got to guess? That's not going to help you. Also, I want to know where you found out about the job. If you're a really good candidate, I'm going to want to double down and post more jobs there. If you're a train wreck, maybe I'm going to put a few fewer jobs there. You get some extra points by letting me know where you found the job. Second sentence. Oh my God, he's going line by line, just for the first paragraph, just for the first paragraph. We want to share how that is exactly the type of position you are meant to perform. Helping others is my calling. My career has been built around serving the needs of the disadvantaged and disenfranchised. I dream in spreadsheets. Let me be your accounting, bookkeeping person. That sort of thing. Third sentence, share what you know about the organization and why you want them to be a part of it. Or as I like to say, feed their mission statement back to them. It would be so meaningful for me to be a part of an organization whose mission it is to insert mission from organizational website. Now, if it's 3 pages, don't do the whole thing, but just a particular part. Do use quotation marks so you're not committing plagiarism. Going to be totally honest, there's a very high likelihood that they have no idea what their mission statement is, but that's okay because it's going to sound really good. They hired outside consultants to help wordsmith it, and so it really flows. And it's going to sound good. And it's going to show that you did your homework. Second paragraph is the value selling paragraph. Here, make your value selling proposition. What do they need to know about you in order to make the decision to hire you? What do they need to know that you have that's a direct connection to this job? Maybe they're looking for an accountant. Well, you happen to be a CPA. That is a certified public accountant. You have a master's degree in business with a concentration in accounting. You have 8 years of experience as an accountant. We really want to make the connection between what they said they wanted in the advertisement and what you have to offer. And so any keywords you can respond to, particularly if they've really emphasized the importance of that, required, preferred, that means they're pretty important. We want to make sure we're feeding that back to them here. Next, we come to the optional paragraph, and this is the value added paragraph. This is where you can share things that may, on initial glance, not directly seem to impact the job, but upon further review, may relate to it. But you've got to put in the work. You've got to construct it. You have to build the bridge between what it is and how it would benefit them. So you've got to fill in the blanks for them a little bit. So, maybe you worked a summer at Dunkin' Donuts and you're like, well, what does that have to do with being an architect? Well, what is really critical in being a Dunkin' Donuts employee? Customer service. There's very few jobs where being skilled in customer service doesn't have value. And so you may find this hard to believe, but the Commonwealth of Massachusetts typically asks new applicants a question about customer service because somewhere along the lines, they got the idea that people who went to the Registry of Motor Vehicles didn't get great customer service. Crazy, I know. And then an action statement, a call to action. If you're going for a sales job, then you want to go ahead and be as aggressive as possible because salespeople have to be somewhat aggressive. So you may say something like, I will be calling you at Tuesday at 9:10 a.m. to share with you why I would be the best candidate for this job and how I can help increase your sales exponentially in this role. For most jobs, that's going to be a little over the top and, quite frankly, off-putting. So I think we may want to dial it down a little bit to something a little bit less offensive. Perhaps something like, please do not hesitate to contact me. I would welcome the opportunity to explore how I could make a measurable contribution to your organization through this role. It would be an honor to be considered for a place on your team. And that's how we do it. Statement of appreciation. I thought I'd have one slide that actually was from this century. Thank you for your time and consideration. They read the cover letter. They looked at your resume. You're not thanking them for the job. They haven't given that to you yet. You're thanking them for the time they took reviewing your materials and the consideration they gave it. or them. Close the letter appropriately, right? We don't want to close with "have a blessed day" because that could land one of two ways, and it probably won't land the way you hope it does, unless you're applying to a seminary, in which case that might get scored a little differently now, might it? Also avoid ending it with "I love you." That might create some concerns about boundaries. You can never go wrong with either "sincerely" or "respectfully." And signatures matter. So we want to actually sign the letter. So between the "sincerely" and the typed version of your name, we need an actual signature. Now, if you are pretty good with computers and you can generate it and just put your finger to the screen and sign it that way, more power to you. I don't know how to do that. So what I do is I sign it on a piece of paper, I scan the piece of paper, I copy the signature out of the piece of paper, I paste it into the gap between "sincerely" and my typed name, and then I white out the background so that it matches. And that's how I do it. But it's better if you can have an actual signature in there because it shows that you have attention to detail and you're willing to put in the effort. Factors that are going to work against you may sound a lot like my previous video on resumes, things such as poor grammar and punctuation. Funny how that never is a winner. Self-focus versus employer focus. Aggressive, pushy tone. Misspelled words. Bland, boring text. Wow, I had to go and read the instructions to the photocopier after reading your cover letter because it was so much more interesting and I wanted to get my pulse back. Rambling, lack of focus, sort of like most of my videos. Gross exaggeration, like most of my videos. Poor overall appearance. Watch it out. Cover letters should be typed unless specifically requested otherwise by the employer. In my entire career, I actually only received one handwritten resume, and I typed it up for the person and made them promise never to show the handwritten one ever again. And this is what it looks like when it's done. This is a good sample of what the cover letter will look like. Note that signature. Now, a couple of things I want you to remember. Paragraphs generally should be 3 to 4 sentences long. So don't be sending out cover letters with paragraphs that have only 2 sentences in them, because I'm here to tell you those aren't paragraphs. Also, your sentences should not end with prepositions or conjunctions. That's verboten. Again, German for forbidden. So it's got to be bad. Trying to sound clever can backfire and result in some awkward sounding sentences. It could be really bad if at the end of it, I have no idea what you're saying. And worse, I just spent 8 lines of that run-on sentence reading it. Don't overdo the I statements. I have seen cover letters where the entire first paragraph, every single sentence started with I. That's obnoxious. Again, we're getting back into the ground of narcissistic personality disorder. Also, don't use the phrase "I feel." This is going to sound terrible, but employers don't care about our feelings. They care about what we can prove. Treat the cover letter like you do a research paper where you have to support every statement you make with facts. I believe. No, your job is to make them believe. Also, try not to use the phrase "my name is." By this point, they got the envelope with your name on it. They have the resume with your name on it, the reference page with your name on it, the cover letter, which at the top has your everybody name on it. Don't waste the start of your cover letter with "my name is." You're not Eminem. My qualifications make me the perfect candidate. That is so arrogant and presumptuous. And it's also not sustainable. You have to prove it. Far better if you let them come to the conclusion that you're the perfect candidate because you proved it by the evidence you gave in the cover letter. Otherwise, it's like you're walking into the interview, putting your feet up on the table, looking around, making a dismissive sound and saying, "Boy, are you lucky I'm here. Please contact me at your earliest convenience." That you think sounds really polite. It's actually really presumptuous. It's the same thing as saying, "I'm waiting. I'm still waiting." All right, if you have questions, you can always email me at marshallj@elms.edu or just careers@elms.edu. It'll go the same place into my inbox. Thank you. I hope this wasn't too painful. And this concludes our series of first wave videos. So I hope you've enjoyed them.